Now, very often I'm being asked, Kai, what's your favorite stock research tool? And honestly, there's so many out there. I've done a lot of videos about it in the past, and I tried many different, but I keep coming back to the same, and that's Seeking Alpha. Now, I've been using them for a number of years. I started off on the free plan, but then a few years ago, I ended up paying for the premium plan for my own money because I really saw so much value. And that's why in this video, I want to give you a tour, see what you can get out of the platform, show you a couple of the premium feature, and then you can decide whether it's worth it for you or not. Again, it may not be worth for everybody, but if you're serious about investing and want even more deep dives and analysis into particular stock or ETF, I think it's an amazing resource, and I will show you also how I link it to my own Interactve Brokers account. So that way I don't even have to log into my broker. I can see everything I need to see right in Seeking Alpha. That's the beauty of it. And I get specific analysis on my portfolio, not just any other stocks and portfolios that are not relevant for me, and that just makes my life easier. I can also check it on the go on my phone, and yeah, just love it. Here we are inside my Seeking Alpha premium account, and again, most of it looks very similar from the free version, but you will quickly see it's great to start on a free plan, but a lot of the good stuff sadly is behind the paywall for the premium plan. But again, in my eyes, it was really worth it, especially when you come to some of the analysis. And don't worry, of course, if you don't like the dark theme, you can change it to white theme, so then you'll basically see it as such. But again, I just like it in dark theme. And the first thing, of course, once you logged in, you want to most likely look for specific stock, right? So let's pull up a classic dividend king, which is Coca-Cola. Let's put it in over here, and you will see everything you need to know about Coca-Cola. You can also hide the sidebar. And yes, honestly, that dashboard alone is probably all you need to know in order to make an educated decision whether to buy or not. Of course, you have a little chart over here. You can change quickly, what time period you want to see. This small thing alone, when I see the number up or down, the percentage by time interval is already such a saver, because sometimes, you click around, you don't know what's the percentage gain, and just like it, how simple they make it. I can see, for year to date, last 6 months, what have you. So some of the presets over here, of course, you can click on advanced and get a much deeper insight, which is powered by TradingView. So you can do your own charting, what have you. But again, let's be honest, for most people, unless you're a day trader, I think it's a little bit too overwhelming. So I'm really happy with the basic chart that they provide over here. And of course, from here, also has some of the key information over here. I always look at it, and that's really some of the most important things that you want to be knowing about a particular stock, especially as dividend investors. I like my dividends. I get a nice yield. I can see right away what I'm getting. The 52-week range, are we on the high side or the low side? So that's also a good indication. And of course, that's just top level, right? And all of those, you can really deep dive into each of them. I'll show you in a second how that works, but they're very straightforward. Then of course, you have some of the ratings over here. And again, these are just some features of the premium plan, because you will not see all of them on the free plan. Some of them, but not for all of them, especially the longer you want to go back in the time period. You will see sometimes you see it for a few months, but not for 5 years or longer period. Also the analysis, honestly, that's really one of the main factors why I love it for, because of course you find a lot of articles and so on online, but when you look up certain information on Google, often I was referred back to a Seeking Alpha article, so they value the opinion of Seeking Alpha as well. But then often I think you can get only 2-3 articles for free a month that you can read on the free plan, and I was always wishing to read the article, but I couldn't because it was behind the paywall. So honestly, upgrading and reading all those articles, especially the ones that pertain to my stocks, really helped me a lot to get a better and deeper understanding about my investments. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, as well as news specific to the stock that you're obviously reading about. So that makes sense, not just thousands of different news articles, but especially pertaining to the particular stock you're looking at. And I really like when you click into one of them, you can quickly see the sentiment of the article, right? Is it a sell recommendation, hold recommendation, a buy recommendation? And you see, nobody knows it, right? I mean, they're all supposed to be smart people, and yet they have so many different opinions, from strong buy to sell. And often you see strong buy, strong sell, so nobody knows. But once you start reading different articles, you just get a better understanding of what you might resonate with as an investor. And for example, you can click into one of them. From here, you get really some good deep dive information into the stock, a really nice analysis. You just get different point of views, which honestly I really appreciate. And the cool thing is, you can also see something about the article, stocks covered, the rating, and then of course the price at publication and how it changed since then. But one thing I actually really appreciate, which people don't talk about much, are the comment sections. Because let's be honest, when you go on Twitter or even on YouTube, some of the comments get really quite rude and not very sophisticated. Here the people, and most of them you can see, are premium members. So they're actually paying themselves for a premium membership. And honestly, some of the discussions over here really are so insightful, and they give you so much more value than reading a long article where it's just kind of recycled content. Here's raw, authentic comments and feedback from other investors into the same stock. So I really appreciate it. Sometimes it can get a little bit tough. They're giving the honest feedback to authors, but overall, I really appreciate those insights. So before making investment decisions, I usually come here, read a couple of articles, see the comments, and just to get a feel for what people are saying and what my gut feeling is towards a particular company. Right from here, obviously, you have even more ratings, factor grades, quant ratings, dividend grades. So we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, you can already see a lot of information and insights on the dashboard, on the main page. It's really the most important things, even things like seasonality, right? That's really important to see as well over here. Then we have Seeking Alpha rating versus the Wall Street rating. Any analyst prediction, as we've seen before, really doesn't mean anything. Some say buy, some say sell. But of course, if everybody sells buy, there's a strong sentiment towards a certain direction. Now, it doesn't have to happen, but at least it gives you an indication, which I always appreciate, right? So yeah, it's just another indicator. As I said, all of those indicators are like pieces of a puzzle that you have to put together and have to work for you, so you as an investor make the right decision. Then, of course, what bulls are saying, what the bears are saying. So I like that also, that they're not saying one way or the other. They're really trying to be neutral and paint a picture for you to make the most educated decision for your investments. A little company profile, just to get an idea, because sometimes we invest in a company that's new to us and we don't know much about it. And yeah, it's always good to get a little refresher on what they do, as well as a snapshot of the revenue. That's really interesting. You can change it from annual to quarterly. So you can see, again, some of those most important things over here. Growth is always something I look in because I want to invest in a company that has growth prospects, right? And you can see right now, in the case of Coca-Cola, D+ is not very promising, right? The revenue growth year on year, 5.93%, not really impressive. Now, of course, it's not a tech company, so I wouldn't expect crazy growth, but in general, it's something you want to look at. And again, I like how they kind of color code it and give it letters to quickly gauge whether it's good or not. And when there is a bit of a concern, you can see here in red, I could go into growth and further analyze what are the issues, really dive in. In terms of working capital, I can see over here F, because they had a minus percentage over there. So that's something to, better understand. I can hover over it, understand what it is. So I just like how easy they make it, even for non-professional investors, and to explain you along the way. So honestly, doing that regularly, I really get a better understanding of how to read a company P&L and understand the numbers, so I can use that to my own advantage. Some more of the key metrics. We'll come to some of those in a moment. As I said at the top, you have individual tabs for all of them. Whenever you see the blue points, you can double click and get even more details about that. Of course, as I said, I like really the dividend sections, because a lot of even brokerages, they completely neglect dividends, which is such a shame, right? A lot of people love their dividends, and here you really get some of the best information, all dividend related. So I'll get to that particular tab in a second to really dive in and show you what you can get out of it. Dividend growth history as well. Again, seeing such a chart, it's amazing to see for dividend investors, which is really very useful. Then ownership, of course, you want to know who are the owners of a particular stock, so you can see that here very easily. And peers, basically, that's where Seeking Alpha compares it to competitors, where they think that might be potential competitors, and then you can easily benchmark how is your chosen company performing versus some of those competitors. And again, you could dial in here and see even more. Then risk, the beta number, is always important to look at that. So that's something you'll find easily here, some of the technicals, how it compares to the moving average. And the cool thing is you'll also get the transcripts of the quarterly earning reports in case you want to read them, go through. Of course, you can do that, or click into this and you can also listen to them. So just press here, play call.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the Coca-Cola Company's first quarter 2024 earnings results conference call.
So basically, you can listen to the CEOs and the management board presenting the results. So it's really cool. And yeah, I love it. I do that from time to time. And yeah, it's really nice. It's straight here from the app. So I quite enjoy that feature. One thing I would recommend, in case you don't want to go through all of that, you could take that, put it into ChatGPT and ask it to summarize and highlight anything important that you should know as an investor, right? Because again, let's be honest, I don't have time to go through all of that. So that'll be something I'll be doing for some of the companies that I'm investing in. And of course, some investor presentations over here. So really the most important things that you want to be seeing, as well as balance sheet, income statement. So really everything you could be asking for. Right, and from here up top, you have some more obviously analysis where you can really get even more articles that you can go through. You could even select the rating. You only want to see the strong buys or the strong sales to kind of see both sides of the discussion and make your own decision. You can go specifically look at all the comments that have recently been shared across all the different articles about Coca-Cola. So that's cool. News related. So you have all the news, which is also nice. Ratings we touched on before. So that's really cool that they have their own sort of rating, their quant rating. And here, as I said, on the free plan, you won't be seeing all these various analysis and grade ratings. And that's what you get on the premium plan. So I like that, really. I mean, I don't look at every single number, but when I see some reds on a specific number that I don't like, I then double click into it and see what's the issue, right? And for me, that's really important to have. And you can see also over time how it changes certain thing. Of course, I can compare it to the Seeking Alpha analyst rating as well, which is obviously all the various analysts that cover the stock and get their overall sentiment and kind of get a deeper dive over there and see how it develops over a 5-year period, for example. And then the classical Wall Street rating, so that different websites have as well. You get here the overall analysts that are featuring a stock from different companies, and they kind of aggregate this over here, and you get an idea, what are the price targets. Financials here really have the raw numbers, so to say. Not sometimes the prettiest to look at, but they are important, right? These are the actual numbers. And what I like, you can also just quickly hover over some of those graphs over here. For example, EBITDA is a number all of us should be looking at. Just hover over that, and I can see the EBITDA, for the last 10 years, and see an indication overall. Is it going up? Is it going down? What's the trend? Because sometimes all these numbers might be difficult to digest. Here I can easily see what's happening and how's the trend, right? If I see up and down, that's not really reassuring as an investor. I want to see continuous growth of EBITDA, of revenue, of net income. Then of course you have your balance sheet, you have your cash flow statements. You can also go into earnings over here. So you have all the various earnings. Personally, I don't look too much at that, but I know a lot of people really like to spend time over here. So you have all the earnings estimates coming up and so on. So yeah, if that's relevant for you, then that's a great insight as well. Then we come to the dividends, and I think that's really also where Seeking Alpha shines, because they give you so many insights into dividends. Firstly, a dividend summary, obviously what's the dividend yield, what's the payout, actual number in monetary terms, the payout ratio, so important, how much of the profits are they paying out to investors in the form of dividends, the growth rate over time, and the dividend growth. How many years in a row have they been growing? And you can see Coca-Cola, 61 years of continuous growth and payment of dividends. Well done to them. But not only that, you can even go into dividend yield from here and see the various analysis on the yield. You can even zoom out to a 10-year period and see the dividend yield and see how it's been developing. You can see in 2020, at some stage, you were able to get over 4% dividend yield on Coca-Cola. I mean, that's amazing. 10 years ago, however, it was much less at under 3%, right? So it gives you a good indication. Is the dividend right now high, little? And I liked it. I think on the free plan, once again, you can only do this to 1 year, maybe 5 years, but definitely not to 10 years. For me, as a long-term investor, I always have a long-term horizon. So 10 years for me is always something I look at that. Yield on cost, also very important percentage. When you zoom out to 10 years, once again, you can see if you invested 10 years ago in Coca-Cola, you would now have a yield on cost of almost 4.7%. I mean, that's really attractive as a dividend yield, right? So yeah, it just shows, the longer you invested, the better for your returns over time, of course, in terms of yield on cost. But not only that, you have dividend growth as well over time to really see how they've been growing consistently. The dividends, once again, if I go to the 10-year, a nice growth over time, dividend history over there as well. You have dividend safety, which once again, shows very visually, what are issues to look for, and just makes things so much easier without having to spend too much time, hunting down the numbers and so forth. Dividend history as well as dividend estimates. So a lot of information packed over there. Valuation also, you can really deep dive. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on every single one, just to show you, you really find pretty much anything you could possibly be looking for about the particular stock. Growth as well, I think that's very important. You want to see things like revenue growth, right? And again, it compares it to the sector as well as the 5-year average, right? Year on year is one thing, but what about the 5 years consecutively? So really nice, important numbers that you should be familiar with. Profitability, once again, you want to invest in a company that's profitable, of course. You see things like gross profit, net income, right? I want to see that growing. I want to see that positive over time. And 23%, really not too bad when the sector median is less than 5%. So again, kudos to Coca-Cola for that. And one of the tabs I really like is momentum. So here, basically, you can very quickly see how that particular company is comparing to the market. In that case, the S&P 500, because that's the golden benchmark, right? Let's be honest. And you can see the price return versus S&P and the total return. And that's always something I look at it, because total return includes the dividends and the capital appreciation of the stock price. So both together, and I can see if I go out for 10 years, for example, I can see the S&P 500 return 232%, while Coca-Cola only returned 110%. You can see they really actually underperformed, less than half the returns of the S&P 500. That's why actually recently I exited my Coca-Cola position. I used to have a bit of money invested in there, and I like the dividend, I like the company. But again, when I realistically look over a 10-year period with them underperforming the market quite severely, that's when I realized it's probably time for me to move out and just invest it into the S&P. But again, you might have other stocks that outperform that. That's great, right? And you can really quickly see here how they're doing relative to the S&P. So I quite like that. Of course, some other averages as well. And once again, you would only be seeing, I believe, up to 5 years on the free plan, which still is better than nothing. But yeah, I like a long time period, right? Because things change, right? In a 1-2 year period, a stock might be outperforming the market. But if you zoom out and look at the longer period, a lot of them actually underperform, which is sad, but reality. Then you can also go into peers. Once again, you can see here, what they think are competitors. Of course, you could change that. You click on edit and, put another competitor that they're in, that you want to benchmark, and really go through all those different parameters that we looked at before and see how they do relative to another one. In case you're on the fence which one you want to go with, you could very easily do that over here. Then they also have a section on options, but yeah, personally I don't trade options. And lastly, we have charting over here. Once again, you could build your own charts in a way. You could see historic stock splits, which is interesting, historical prices in a table format, and once again in charting. So here basically I could also quickly add another symbol. Let's say I want to compare it to Pepsi. I could just add that over here, update the chart, and boom, I would see how Pepsi is doing compared to that, change the time period, change even the metrics if I wanted to look for dividends, for example. So really nice way to chart and compare different stocks that you want to invest in potentially. If I click on follow over here, it will be added to my watch list. And that brings me to another topic. If I open the sidebar over here, you have your portfolios, right? I have my watch list over here. So these are all the stocks that I have kind of on my watch list and I want to keep an eye on, that I want to potentially buy. I like that I even give you a health score and a potential gain. If I would have invested into those, how much would be my gain in percentage? So that's really cool. And you can also customize your views. There's already a few preset views over here, like holdings, after hours ratings, even dividend related. So, if you're a dividend investor, you can see all the important things as a dividend investor and then compare them very easily. But I also have my own view that I created for myself. That's really all the things that I want to view. And you can very easily change that. Click on edit view and then select what you want to see and so forth. And then literally at a glance, I can see the most important things that are most important to me in one snapshot over here. And yeah, I just love it. It makes it so much easier than in my brokers. Most brokers don't show me all these details in one shot. So I really, really like that feature. And not only that, I actually link my Interactve Brokers account. So that's really, really useful. Honestly, I check my account more often here than I do on Interactve Brokers themselves. But I love Interactve Brokers. The platform is not the most user-friendly. Having it right here reflected in real time. And once again, as per the view, you can see over here my view. Once again, that view carries through all my various, holdings and lists that I have. And I can see all the things that are relevant and important to me as an investor. And yeah, really love it. And not only that, it also pulls all the most important things like news articles pertaining to my portfolio and only my portfolio, not any other stocks that are not interesting to me, but only the things that I already own in my portfolio that might be relevant to me. So really love that feature. And I can even see the day's gain quickly without once again having to log in, my health score overall to see how your portfolio is doing, what the analysts are thinking. So I quite like that feature as well to kind of get an objective opinion about your portfolio. Wow. And apparently my portfolio is in the top 3 of all portfolios. Whatever that means, I'd take it. So yeah, that's really cool. You can obviously add a new portfolio if you wanted to, link it to a broker. So it's really nicely, they use Plate to link and sync your portfolio to the broker. So again, I know not everybody feels comfortable with it, but honestly, Plate is a service that banks are using even to have a read-only access to your account. And honestly, I'm really happy with them. I use that for a while now, so you can just go ahead. As it says over here, you have to create a Plate account. But yeah, read up on Plate. It's really a true and tried service. I'm really happy with them. It's read-only, it's encrypted, so I'm very happy. You could just click on continue over here, either register, continue as guest, whatever works for you, and then you can look up your broker. Now, they don't obviously have all the brokers, but in my case, Interactve Brokers, which a lot of people are using, probably the biggest broker in the world, that is featured there, plus 12,000 other institutions. So have a look around. Most likely you'll find what you're looking for. And that was one of the features that was only available on the premium plan. I think for the first month, you can do it free of charge on the free plan just to try out. And I liked it so much that I ended up paying. That was one of the reasons as well that I really have all my stocks over here, and again, get information about that in the view that I like. So for me, that was really worth the money. Of course, they also have many other things, like for example, amazing stock screener, ETF screener, a comparison tool. They even have their own investment groups, alpha picks that you can follow. So a lot of things. I think the stock screener might be interesting as well. So I, for example, set up my own screener. They also have some pre-made screeners over here, kind of that you're looking for. But in my case, I had a US dividend growth screener. So if you click into this, and then I basically had filters, and that will easily show me what stock, what companies could be relevant for my search in this case, right? And then from here, you could easily change it, edit filters, and really customize it to what you want. Do you want a big company? Where is it located? Only in the US. I had US, market cap of 10 billion or more, the rating, what it should be, the dividend yield, years of growth. So all these things, you can set them up once, save it, and then we'll bring up all the companies that fit your criteria. So it just makes it easier to find your next winning stocks. As you can see, honestly, a lot of features that Seeking Alpha offers. Wanting to read more of their articles, have a 10-year comparison and a 10-year timeline of a lot of the metrics that I was looking for. And lastly, the ability to sync my brokerage, Interactve Brokers, with Seeking Alpha to really get the view that I like and information specific and tailored to my own portfolio was really a game changer. And as I said, I've been paying for it for a number of years now myself. I really love it and definitely recommend you to check it out. And if you want to give it a try, use my link down in the description below. They always have some special deals running, so you'll definitely gonna get some kind of discount. Sometimes it's $50. I've seen up to 50% off. So depending on when you watch this video, it might be a different deal, but definitely check it out. As soon as you open the page with my link, you will see what kind of deal will be available to you. And I really think you're gonna get some great value out of it. Next up, check out this video over here. As always, stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.